Hey everyone, enjoy this track from Tariq Gardner and crew. We're taking care of some technical difficulties. In the meantime, if you have any questions that you want us to ask of Megan Dombrowski from WSU Students Demand, go ahead and type those into the comment sections at either YouTube or Facebook should work okay. They're doing some great stuff. All right, Megan, I'll bring you back in. We'll see if we can see what happens, okay?
So I have wired earbuds, headphones, but they only go into my phone and not my laptop.
Oh.
Right the screen, my computer or from my phone.
Yeah, switch to your phone, see if that works. Okay, thanks. Figuring things out. Let me give those of you who are here ahead of time or watching this later a little preview of the dark hymnal coming together. Recently worked up some edits on the music for From Dust. So this is kind of an Ash Wednesday one with Joshua Davis, stepping in it. Michigan music fame, was on The Voice, have been borrowing all the things that he learned from the people down at The Voice. I sit down with him on Zoom calls, every week for the last few weeks. Josh is amazing, connected in with an amazing group of musicians all across Michigan. So I just really appreciate his opinions. And he's been helping, we've been moving into this, like talking about songwriting, which has been helpful for how we're going to pursue this dark hymnal thing. Collections of songs that pull from the scripture passages that, hi Lauren, pull from the scripture passages where darkness is an example and an image of strength in the part of God. So I'll bring Lauren in. Hey Lauren, how are you?
I'm good, how are you?
You're doing well. Megan is jumping on and she's just figuring out a little bit of her audio stuff. You're coming through nice and clear, thanks. I was going to give people a little preview of From Dust. Have you heard about this dark hymnal project we've been working on?
I've heard a little about it.
Okay. Let me pull. This is what we're listening to is Tariq Gardner, and it's from a compilation of songs that is honoring one of his professors. A bunch of folks put that together. We thanks Tariq for that, and the ep that's going up today is going to feature some of Tariq's playing from last week, but a new version of it too. Here's Megan. Let me see if I can bring her in just a second. All right, Megan, give us a little shout out.
Hi, can you hear me now?
Yeah, there it is. Lovely. Thanks for doing that. I'm sorry that everything doesn't work with a push of a button. It should.
Oh, no worries. Trust me, with this move to online, I've learned a lot of things.
Oh, yeah, exactly. I've been working with some folks from a local Methodist church and talk about, a good but learning curve when it comes to using everything. But people are jumping on it. I think we're figuring out some ways to do things. And I love that people, if you were in a church and you had opinions about the worship service or had responses to the pastor, it would be pretty rude to just yell them out in the middle of a worship service. But now they have a comment section on Facebook, so so we're actually encouraging that. It's just a very different thing. Well, we will come back. I was giving a little preview. We're working on a benefit album of songs called the Dark Hymnal, Megan, and so we're working with some local musicians that have been helping us out, and we'll get back to that in just a second. But we want to say thanks to you for coming and talking with us about Wayne State University Students Demand Action and all of the things that you have been doing, a little bit of what this weird time is like for you all, and beyond Corona, because we have hope that it will be a time. What kind of conspiracies of goodness are you going to be continuing to do, and what's the goal for Students Demand nationwide and locally? So Thanks for joining us to talk about that. And Megan, this is Lauren, and Lauren is a global mission fellow who's in town for a couple of years working. She's like 100% full-time database operator at this point. But anyway, Megan, what you want to tell us a little bit about your work with WSU Students Demand and how you got started and what the group is all about?
Sure. Thanks again for having me today. So Wayne State University Students Demand Action is a chapter among over 400 other chapters of Students Demand Action. We are the largest grassroots youth-led movement to end gun violence in the United States right now. We exist because currently over 100 Americans are shot and killed every day. But our work is not ending. Just because the coronavirus is here, gun violence is still continuing. And while we saw that March was the first month in a long while where there was no school shootings, incidents of domestic violence and unintentional shootings have been on the rise. But we are continuing our voter registration effort that we launched just a few weeks before the coronavirus hit. But right now we opened up a field office in Michigan, which is a community of Students Demand Action volunteers that is growing, and we would love to have anybody who is watching join us. But our goal is to register 4,500 young voters in Michigan to elect a gun sense majority in the Michigan House and the Michigan Legislature, and then eventually a gun sense president, so we can implement some laws such as background checks and red flag laws to help save American lives. But we are transitioning online from our actual in-person organizing. So, for example, Wayne State Students Demand Action, we took a little break due to finals, but we are planning for Wear Orange, which is June 5th this year. So in the next week, our leadership team is getting back together and starting to plan for events over the summer that people in the community can look forward to joining in on.
That's awesome. Some of our branding is already pretty orangified, but we'll join you on June and maybe brighten it up to that really glow in the dark orange that
We'd love that.
Now, one of the things that has always impressed me about Moms Demand Action and Students Demand Action is the sense that we're focused on the things that we can all agree upon in a way that could be bipartisan, that could cut across the various kind of divides that we typically have about guns, in this country. Can you talk a little bit about that at all?
Absolutely. So Moms Demand Action and Students Demand Action, we are partner organizations and we are nonpartisan organizations. I mean, gun violence does not discriminate based on political ideology or race or anything. It affects us all. And so we support common sense solutions such as universal background checks and red flag laws and safe storage laws that are proven solutions to be backed up by data and evidence that have been implemented at state levels, but we push them to be implemented both at state and federal levels. But we do, like I said, we are nonpartisan and we're not anti-gun, we're pro-gun safety and anti-gun violence. So we're willing to work with anybody across the political aisle to end gun violence in America and save lives.
Which there's a fairly strong stream of, say, members of other gun organizations that would be for these measures, right?
Absolutely. So you often see like Everytown and Moms Demand Action and Students Demand Action. We dislike the leadership of the National Rifle Association, but we don't dislike their members. In fact, some NRA members are part of our organization as well, because if you look at background checks or red flag laws, there is broad support for these pieces of legislation across the political aisle. In fact, I believe it's 90% of Americans support background checks because they are proven to be successful when implemented, and they're common sense solutions to this epidemic. And I mean, just a background check, if it can save a life, it is very valuable and necessary.
Yeah. The Methodist Church has a tradition of having social principles where they'll we'll talk about, how do we really feel because of our faith background, how we feel like we should be calling people to live in the world. And, issues of kind of violence and militarism and guns have always been kind of in those a bit, but they tend to stay away from these kind of hard and fast positions and try to stick to these issues informed by our faith. And one of them is, how can we best pursue healthy life for all the world, and that's where gun sense safety stuff really makes a lot of sense. And you can talk a lot about that without having to get into issues of individual liberties and gun ownership and that. We just say, let's do that in the right way so that we can protect people on the streets. Do you have participation from folks across various spectrum of kind of culture? Do you have folks that are living in the city and have a certain sense of guns and issues of kind of protection and things like that, and those living in suburbs and rural areas that see it mostly as a hunting issue or something? I mean, are you drawing from all of those folks?
Absolutely. So together with Moms Demand Action, students and moms, we have nearly 6 million supporters across the country, from cities such as Detroit and New York, but also to suburbs like Oakland and Macomb counties, and suburbs all across the country, as well as rural areas. Our supporters are spread out and vast and diverse, whether it be gender or sexual orientation or race or where you live, socioeconomic status. I mean, these common sense solutions can really be accepted by people from all different kinds of backgrounds.
I love it. I got one more follow-up question. And Lauren, if you're thinking of one to ask Megan, that'd be great. At Motor City Wesley, we try to challenge people to think of what good can they do in the world with $100. If you were to describe how a $100 donation helps your organization, what are the things that amount of money can do, that you can do with that amount of money?
Well, with most of our donations, we put it towards voter registration efforts. We are currently, like I said, trying to register over 4,000 students. So we put it towards that. We put it towards supplies and materials for meetings and events, which we are currently not hosting in person anymore, but we're able to beforehand. And we also, while we were organizing in person and meeting throughout the year, we found a great organization, the Detroit Rescue Mission, which is a domestic violence shelter in the Detroit area. We did a lot to support them as well, hosting donation drives and working with them, because domestic violence, the intersection with firearms, can be very deadly and lethal. So we like to try to support other organizations within the Detroit area as well.
Wow, and that must be something that's heightened even now with more people at home. Yeah.
In Detroit, there have been reports that domestic violence cases have been increased by 25% just within the past month and a half.
Wow. Many of those exacerbated by gun ownership and
Yes.
gun use. Yeah, unsafe gun use. Well, gosh, if it's something to be praying for, and it's fascinating to me that it took a pandemic to put a halt, at least even maybe temporary, to gun shootings. I mean, that is just, it speaks to the kind of pervasiveness of this problem. And we should remember that it took a global pandemic of people sheltering in place to stop that. And maybe it gives us a sense of the scale of where we need to get to stop it on its own. Lauren, what's your relationship with gun safety issues, and what kind of questions do you have for Megan?
Yeah, so I agree. Like, there's a big gun violence problem in our world. Like, I went to undergrad for elementary education, so seeing like elementary school shootings and all school shootings, like, it really hits home, because it's like, to be a teacher, like, it's traumatizing, really. And so I would just love to hear, like, how has COVID-19 affected what y'all get to do? And then what do you still get to do despite COVID-19 in your organization?
I actually couldn't hear her. I'm so sorry.
That's fine. Let me restate. Kind of, she's interested in what were you able to do, but what really had to change? What is the different mindset that you have now because of COVID-19? Does that help, Lauren? Is that right?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, so Students Man Action and Moms Man Action, we really value in-person organizing and being able to make personal connections to one another. So because of the pandemic, we have really had to shift to online organizing, but we are still making phone calls and sending texts and still trying to foster a sense of community, even if it is over a laptop. So we are continuing our work.
Where did the 4,500 number come from?
So I'm actually, we made it as a group. So right now, Students Man Action nationally has a goal of registering 100,000 students across the 50 states. And we're starting virtual field offices, trying to in every state. Currently, we have one in 20 states. And we have a focus on 13 battleground states. And as Michigan is one of them, our goal is a little higher than some of the other states. And so when the numbers come down to it, if we are able to register 4,500, then we can help register that larger number of people across the country.
Kind of share of the whole movement.
Yeah.
I love it. So if you think of, we've solved coronavirus and COVID-19,
That'd be
and
lovely.
right, exactly. Yeah, we're fantasizing at this point. But people are back. You're gangbusters in the fall or spring, whenever it is. What's the next goal? Maybe even beyond kind of this election. What's the next big part of the movement that has to happen from your perspective?
Yeah, so a lot of this will depend on the 2020 election. This upcoming election is crucial for the future of gun sense. We are hoping to keep the gun sense majority in the U.S. House, to get majorities in legislatures across the country, in governorships, and so forth. And so we are hoping that by electing officials who share our mindset and these ideals, that we can then pressure them and pass these pieces of legislation. And we're also we don't always focus just on legislation, but we also like to support other communities, community organizations, especially in larger cities. Um, these these organizations that, such as Ceasefire Detroit, that actually go out into communities and try to prevent gun violence on the street level as well, that have been proven to be effective.
In some ways, legislation can have a certain kind of power from the top
Mm-hmm.
if you can get the influence. But it sounds like the ongoing street level, home by home kind of awareness and work is something that is the grassroots growing edge. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, change starts from the bottom, and in order to pass these pieces of legislation, we have to create a culture among communities that there's a need for this. So we try to change hearts, try to change minds, and then by doing that, we hopefully will change the legislation as well.
So if students are hearing this and churches are hearing this, what's the next step? Where Orange is coming up? Where do you want people to go online to catch, your email list, or where can they, if you're a student and you haven't registered to vote yet, where can you register to be counted as part of the 4,500 that Megan is personally seeing to? Where do you want to send people to get connected with the movement?
So first, if anybody needs to register to vote, it's super simple, especially in Michigan, since we have online voter registration. All you have to do is text FUTURE, FUTURE, to 64433 and follow the link, and you'll be able to register to vote, update your voter registration status, check if you're registered to vote if you're not sure, and you can even request an absentee ballot and sign up for reminders about upcoming elections in your area. So that's a super simple way, but also following us on Instagram at WSU Students Demand Action. And then for the Michigan Virtual Field Office on Instagram is at Students Demand MI. And we have upcoming events and meetings and planning brainstorms that are coming up. And then Wear Orange, you can find out more information. Like I said, we'll be posting on our social media, but also wearorange.com. Or actually it might be wearorange.org. I'm not sure about that ending. But yeah, it's coming up on June 5th, and people all across the country participate by wearing orange and sharing why the gun violence prevention movement is important to them.
Love it. That number to text again, is that 64433?
Absolutely. Future to 64433, and that is to register to vote. But if you want to join Students Demand Action, you can text students, plural, to 64433 as well.
Oh, nice. Love it. Megan, thanks so much.
Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, and I want to say y'all's Instagram game is top notch. So definitely follow them there. That I saw some good kind of live stream things and conversations happening. It's a great way to stay informed about what you all are doing and get directions and kind of sent to the right spot to get connected with the broader movement. So thank you.
Thank you.
All right, friends. Megan, we'll let you go. Thanks so much. Watch for the episode to be kind of going up this week, kind of in the next week. And if you have any links or anything that you want us to have as a part of the bio or the show notes or anything, I'll try to grab the ones we talked about. But if you have them somewhere in a press piece or something, go ahead and send them to me. Just carl@motorcitywesley.org. Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks, Megan. Bye.
Bye.
Lauren, what do you think? Are you registered to vote?
I am registered to vote.
Nice. Are you registered to vote in your home state?
Yes.
Ah, gotcha. Okay. So you're going to be absenteeing along with everybody.
Yep. I've already sent mine in.
Oh, nice. Love it. My spouse has been a part of kind of the Mom's Demand side of things. And so I would not ever want to get in the way of a giant movement of moms trying to keep their kids safe from guns. You know what I mean? Like, I am fascinated by folks that try to stand up against this movement. Yeah. I just can't believe. But Lauren, what's going on? So we talked a little bit about the conspiracy of goodness that Students Demand is doing. What kinds of things are happening with you, conspiracy or community wise? What do you think?
I'm still at Foundry, so I haven't gone anywhere.
Do you have a tally running on a wall somewhere of number of days at Foundry? Just hash marks etched into the stone or something?
I should make like a remembrance wall at Foundry. I think it's been like 8 or 9 weeks now.
Oh my goodness. Are you getting food delivered, or do you take turns going to the grocery store, or what?
We do Whole Foods delivery.
Wow. So really just there for 8 weeks.
Yeah. Well, Ginia sometimes, like, she's gone once to Aldi and just taken our list, and we Venmo her and she gets us groceries. But a lot of the time we do Whole Foods because that's all that delivers to us.
Oh my goodness. Very, very fancy.
Yeah.
Fancy survival food.
Yeah.
Now, some of your friends in your community there are still, their in-person work is part of the kind of that essential services side of things, feeding folks that are homeless and doing casework with them. But you've had a bit of news, or it sounds like the summer is not coming into focus the way that we had hoped for you. What can you share with people that might be facing the same kind of thing in their immediate future? Things shutting down, still getting canceled even during this time. Is there any sense of anything that you can share with people about that?
I think it's important to just remember it's okay to be disappointed. Like, it's okay to be grieving the loss of things, because I think we try to steer away from that, but it's real. Like, we are missing out on a lot because of COVID-19, and so it's not selfish to be sad or be grieving, but it is for an important thing. Like, we are trying to save lives, and just remembering that this is going to end. Like, nobody knows when, nobody knows how, but there will come a day where it ends and we learn a new way of life all over again.
I keep thinking that if the coping mechanisms that any of our organizations or ministries or jobs have, if they can inform how we live beyond coronavirus, then maybe we've learned new skills that can be helpful. If we've been beating our heads against the wall trying to get people to events, but it's super easy for them to log on to a Zoom, maybe that's a part of what we continue to do in the future. If Motown Mission is, which is a ministry that you've been working with, learns how to be kind of in touch digitally with these teams that will eventually be able to come in person, but that gives them a stronger bond, and a better way to follow up or prepare for those weeks, then maybe that's helpful. That's what's been keeping me a little bit sane is we can do some experimentation, and if we go back to everything as normal, then maybe we haven't used the time the best. So
yeah, I know people who did not know how to work technology, not at all. And now by now they're like, oh, I know how to do everything. And I'm like, good job.
In the past 7 weeks, I've gotten better at playing guitar than I have in the last 20 years. I mean, it's one of those kind of weird pieces,
I know there's even people who don't even FaceTime me anymore. Now they Zoom me because they're obsessed with Zoom. And I'm like, what?
Oh, man. Wow. Well, we are praying for you guys stuck at the Foundry House. Luckily, it's the most beautiful building in Detroit. So that's great. I'm saying that a little bit facetiously. But we're praying for you. We're praying for everybody that kind of has that feeling of stuckness. And I thank you for saying it is okay to be disappointed. And that's what I've been sharing with some of the other young people that I've been working with is there is a strong presence of lament in the scriptural tradition. God can handle anything we need to complain about at the moment. And that's really important to remember. Too often our image is we have to come to worship and say, you're really great and everything's fine, But this is an extended period of time where we are faced with the reality that sometimes everything is not fine. Yeah. Well, Lauren, is there anything else that people should know? Any ways that they can be supporting you in your work, even though it's a weird time for either for the work you've been doing with young people at Central United Methodist or for Motown Mission as things are evolving there?
Well, you can always donate to Motown Mission. That's one way. And I also encourage people to look at organizations like NOAA and see how you can support them now as they're still serving their homeless clients and community. They sponsor lunches and all these different things, and they're always in need of support. So even if you don't support Motown Mission or can't right now, you can always check out NOAA and see how to support them.
I was just there on Tuesday, grabbing some video. Moto Creative is kind of our creative services wing of what we do with Motor City Wesley, and we're going to help them, put a video together to keep telling the world that NOAA is just doing, 300 meals a day, and they've got a whole system for still receiving food donations and monetary donations and everything. So, yep, NOAA's going great guns. Motown Mission is making plans to be active, help in. Do economic disaster recovery work as Motown Mission has always done, even when people might not be able to be present and all that. So thank you. We'll put the link in the show notes, motownmission.org. It's easy to remember, and a little link to NOAA. And thanks for jumping on today. And we're praying for you, and we're praying for everybody. Okay.
Yeah. Thank you.
All right. See you later, Lauren. And I'm just gonna follow up on my promise to read some of these dark hymnal texts, okay, as we make our way out.
All right, bye.
See ya. All right, friends, this is From Dust. We'll end it with this. Sometimes it's good to remember that lament and a sense of our own humanity and mortality, sometimes they keep me grounded. So I just offer this to you. From dust we come and to dirt return, ash to cloud and back to earth. But justice calls to fast for peace, to break the bonds and the oppressed go free. This is who we are. Remember and return. In sure hope we mark a promise undeferred, a promise for the earth, and a promise for our hearts. If dust is all we bow into, and fail to bend our ears to you. See the naked, poor, and hungry, without bread. Failed to bring homeless home or bring back the dead. Then this is who we are, remembered and returned. In sure hope we mark a promise undeferred, a promise for the earth, a promise for our hearts. Let us forsake our ancient ruins and be rebuilt. Escape our gloom for all our days, restore the streets anew. Repairers of the breach with you. We're praying for everybody. Thanks to Students Demand Action at Wayne State and across the nation. Thanks to Lauren and all the Global Mission Fellows who continue to be in service. Thanks to Tariq Gardner and his crew of musicians for this song. It is called See a New Day. We really appreciate that. We'll see you next week. Bye, friends.